And welcome to today's webinar, CalSavers Retirement Savings Program. Our colleagues Claudia Moreno and Jonathan Herrera will provide us updated information on the new program. If you are just joining us, if you can, please answer the questions via the poll so we get a better sense of who is joining us. I will now introduce both of our presenters. Jonathan Herrera, he is the Outreach and Marketing Manager at CalSavers. CalSavers Retirement Savings Program is the state's pioneering program which will provide a path to retirement security for over 7 million Californians who currently lack access to a retirement savings vehicle at work. Our second presenter today is Claudia Moreno. She manages Small Business Majority's outreach, education, and policy efforts in the Inland Empire, Central, and Southern California regions. Today's webinar is part of Cameo's monthly capacity building webinar series held on the third Thursday of every month. A few things to mention before we begin. Audio for attendees is muted, but you can type in your questions and comments into the chat box. There will also be an opportunity for everyone to ask questions at the end of both presentations. Again, if you haven't replied to the poll, please do that now. And everyone will receive a copy of today's PowerPoint and the recording in a few days. Our first presenter today is Jonathan Herrera, and I will now hand it over to him for the first presentation.
Thank you for that introduction, Aurora. It really is a pleasure to be here with you guys today. I think the last time that I had the opportunity to present to a Cameo membership audience, it was, I want to say, October or November of last year, and which was right before we launched the pilot for the CalSavers program. So it was very much, in the vein of, this is what we expect to happen, and this is what we hope it will look like. But now the program is up and running, launched fully statewide on July 1st. So instead of talking about how we think it'll be, we get to tell you about how it is and what we're seeing from the field and feedback that we're getting from real businesses and real savers. But again, as Aurora said, CalSavers is the state's new retirement savings program designed to provide access to the millions of Californians who currently lack access to a workplace-based retirement program. So that's usually actually where I like to start in these presentations, is by talking a little bit about why CalSavers came to be and what the problems are that exist in California that it was created to address. So first and foremost, why CalSavers is needed by the numbers. Nearly 50% of Californians are projected to retire into economic hardship, and that's measured by having an income at or below 2 times the federal poverty level. We think that the key driver of that fact is that 7.5 million Californians are working, going to work, playing by the rules, but just by virtue of the fact of where they work, lack access to a way to save at work. And the reason why we think that's so important is because people are 15 times more likely to be saving and be on a path towards retirement security if they have access to a payroll deduction saving option at work. That statistic actually goes up to 20 times more likely if the program features automatic enrollment, which we're proud to say is one of the features of CalSavers. Which brings me sort of to the next key point, and that is, the 3 most powerful features of, the legislation that created us, Senate Bill 1234, and of the program itself. First and foremost, and probably the most important and relevant thing for you guys as Cameo members to keep in mind, is that there is a new employer requirement or a new mandate. So actually starting July 1st of this year, all California businesses with at least 5 employees must either offer a qualified retirement plan from the existing marketplace or register for CalSavers and facilitate our program for their employees. So it's important to note there that CalSavers is not the only option, and we'll get into a little bit more detail about other things that people can do going forward. Number 2, and this goes to the statistics about folks being 20 times more likely to be on a path towards retirement security if they get automatically enrolled to a program at work. That's how CalSavers works. So we emphasize the point that CalSavers is completely voluntary for employees, but if they don't opt out within 30 days of receiving the notification from the program, they do get automatically enrolled. Savers are allowed to opt out. They can opt back in at any time, which makes it completely voluntary, but they do have to opt out within 30 days in order not to be enrolled in the program. And then number three, very important point that we're proud of, very proud of to be able to talk about, is that CalSavers is designed as what I like to think is a perfect example of a public-private partnership, where we have actually partnered with private sector financial firms, both to administer the program and to manage the investment. So you get the professional, money management from professional financial firms, but with state oversight. The program is overseen by a 9-member public board chaired by the state treasurer. I work for that board. And the other thing that came as a result of that is that we're actually building this program at zero cost to the state and the taxpayer. The program is going to be entirely self-sufficient based on the small fee that we do charge the savers. So let's talk a little bit more about that employer requirement, because this is important, right? So don't panic. Your clients won't have to run out and find a retirement program today. They do have some time to figure out how they want to comply with the mandate based on how big their business is. So businesses with more than 100 employees will have 1 year from launch to figure it out. So they have until June 30 of 2020. Businesses with more than 50 employees will have until June 30 of 2021. And the smallest group of businesses, the ones with 5 or more employees, will have 3 years from launch. So June 30, 2022 to figure out how they want to comply with the mandate. Because I know that a lot of the businesses that you work with have fewer than 5 employees, I thought it was important to make this note. So businesses with 4 or fewer employees are not subject to the mandate, right? So they're not required to register for CalSavers, and unfortunately they can't submit their employees for automatic enrollment. But, and I'll get into the details on this a little bit later, we are going to be opening the program to individual participation. So folks who work for small businesses with 4 or fewer employees, gig workers, contractors, they'll all be welcome to come to the website, set up their own account whenever they're ready. And then once employees of those really small businesses have their account set up, they're welcome to go to their employer and ask them to facilitate the payroll contribution. Because the employer is not subject to the mandate, the employer is not required to do that. But employers that do want to help their employees with that automatic payroll contribution are welcome to do so. So let's talk a little bit about who CalSavers is for. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 ways that people can get into the program. By and large, most people are going to get in through their workplace. So employers of those, or employees of those eligible businesses will get enrolled through the workplace as long as they have W-2 income and are subject to unemployment insurance, as long as they're 18 years or older, and as long as they have a social security number or an ITIN. Similar rules apply for the folks who register themselves on an individual basis. They do have to have earned income, they do have to be 18 years or older, and they do have to have a social security number or an ITIN. And then on the employer side, CalSavers is for those businesses with at least 5 employees who do not offer an employer-sponsored retirement plan currently. So any employer who falls under that criteria, as I mentioned before, is going to be required to either begin offering an employer-sponsored plan that they can find on the existing marketplace, or facilitate CalSavers for their employees. So let's talk a little bit about what facilitating CalSavers will look like for employees. But let's first start with what we had in mind when we designed the program. When we started designing the program, we reached out to small businesses and asked them directly, right? What is it about the current marketplace, the existing plans, that prevent you from offering something to your employees? And by and large, they reported 3 hurdles. 1 is the administrative burden. Number 2 was the fees. It's costly to manage your own 401k or other similar program. And the 3rd was the fiduciary liability. So CalSavers was designed to address all 3 of those things. So we've designed it to be as easy as possible for employers to facilitate. It doesn't cost anything for employers to participate in the program. And of course, because employers are not sponsoring CalSavers, it's sponsored by the state. The state's assuming that fiduciary liability and removing it from the employer. So employers don't have to worry about, threats of lawsuits if something goes wrong with their plan or with CalSavers. So let's talk a little bit about what employers are responsible for doing. First and foremost, they're required to register if they decide to facilitate CalSavers, right? They are required to register by their state required deadline, which we went over a couple minutes ago. And then they set up their account, which is a really easy process of coming to our website, calsavers.com, setting up a username and password, telling us who at the business is going to be, responsible for facilitating. Usually it's an in-house person, whoever's in charge of payroll. We have seen a few times the responsibility being handed over to a payroll provider, but that's less common than you would think. And then the employers provide CalSavers with a roster of their employees, of their eligible employees. And this is really the key to that automatic enrollment feature. So once we have that roster of employees, we'll do all the communicating with the employees and let them know, first and foremost that they have CalSavers available. We'll encourage them to come to the website, customize their settings, but most importantly, we let them know that if they don't opt out within 30 days of receiving that notification, they do get automatically enrolled into the program. And then after that, employers are responsible for submitting the employee contributions. By and large, we've noticed from our interactions with employers during the pilot that no matter what type of payroll setup an employer has, we've got examples of a business where the business owner's aunt is doing the books and they're still writing paper checks. And then we've got businesses that are using the big name payroll services that you would expect. By and large, the CalSavers process has been able to fit pretty seamlessly into an employer's existing payroll process, which we're very excited about, right? Because we wanted it to be easy. Ongoing responsibilities for employers would be simply keeping that roster up to date. So when they hire new employees, they submit the new employees' information. And then when employees leave, they mark them as inactive. And then facilitating those payroll contributions as part of their existing payroll process on an ongoing basis. A couple of things employers will not do. Employers will not incur any program fees. Again, it's completely free for the employer. They have no fiduciary responsibility and they are not allowed to make contributions. So no match, unfortunately, in this program. And then there are a few things that employers must not do. Employers are not allowed to encourage or discourage participation in CalSavers. Employers shouldn't be providing advice about investment options, taxes, or participation in the program. Employers don't manage investment options. Employers don't process distributions. They don't manage changes to an employee's account, like updating their address or adding a beneficiary. Again, we wanted to remove all of those responsibilities from the employer to alleviate the administrative burden that traditionally comes with one of these programs. So if an employee needs to make any of those changes to their account, they simply contact the program and we'll take care of them and help them with that part. So how does it work from the employer's perspective? It's pretty simple. Once they get registered and go through that process that I went over in the previous slide, employers will be automatically deducting a portion of their employee's pay, unless, of course, the employee opted out, and remitting it to the program, again, as part of their existing payroll process. The program administrator, a company called a census, is the party that's responsible for communicating with the employee about program options, about investment performance. So, they manage the website, our mobile app, our call center. They distribute statements on a quarterly basis. So that's their responsibility, right, to take care of the day-to-day operations of the program. Employee savings are invested in an IRA that belongs to the employee. Obviously, the goal is to provide a potential for long-term growth over time. And one key feature of our program, because it's not tied directly to the employer, employees can take their IRA with them from job to job. If they leave a CalSavers participating employer, once the mandate is fully rolled out, chances are pretty good that they'll go to another CalSavers participating employer, in which case their IRA follows them and they continue to make contributions at their new employer. If not, if they end up somewhere else where the employer is sponsoring their own plan, they have all the usual options that a person who owns an IRA has, right? They can keep it and let it grow on the side. They can continue to make contributions to it if they want to, but they don't have to. Or they can roll it over into another plan if that plan allows roll over into it. Let's see. And then, of course, because the IRA belongs to them, they can access it anytime. Our default setting is a Roth IRA, which means that contributions go in post-tax. That also means that employees can withdraw their contributions without paying taxes or penalties, as long as they stick to the contributions. If they start withdrawing interest, then they're potentially subject to taxes and penalties on the gains. but we wanted to make sure that at least with the default setting that people had some flexibility to access their contributions. We will have a traditional option available also, and all of the traditional rules that govern IRAs will govern a CalSavers IRA also. So let's talk a little bit more about what it means for employees to participate in the program. So CalSavers was designed to be simple, portable, low-fee option for employees to be able to save and grow their own money. And again, that key feature is that it's an automatic payroll deduction IRA. So contributions are deducted directly from their paycheck and deposited into their IRA. Again, it's completely voluntary for savers. They can opt out at any time or opt back in at any time. And we've designed it to be as simple as possible, right? We've selected some default settings that we think do a pretty good job of allowing a situation where a person could let themselves get automatically enrolled in the program and never look at it and be completely fine over the long term. We'll get a little bit more in details into those default settings in just a moment. But of course, it's fully customizable too. We have a menu of investment options available. People can choose their own contribution rate and customize their settings other ways. Again, it's completely portable from job to job. They keep their account no matter where they go. And it's a very low cost option for savers. So right now, savers do pay a very small fee, less than 1%, which means they're paying less than $1 for every $100 they have in their account per year. And one of the things that we're very excited about is the contract that we have with Ascensus, with the program administrator. Their fee that they get to collect automatically goes down as the program grows. So once the program reaches scale, which we expect in 7 to 10 years, will probably be one of the cheapest IRA programs on the market. So let's talk a little bit about how savers join CalSavers at work. And again, that begins with the employer uploading the roster of eligible employees into the employer portal. Once that happens, CalSavers will send that notification that I mentioned earlier to the employees. And that's when that 30-day window decision-making period begins for the saver. 30 days after being added, the employee is automatically enrolled in the program if they don't opt out. And the employer will begin initiating payroll contributions. During that 30-day period is what we call the employee decision period. And there's 3 things that employees can do. First and foremost, they can do nothing, where they get automatically enrolled and they keep the standard settings. Option number 2, they come to the program, either our website, mobile app, or call center, and customize their account. We'll go into a little bit more detail about ways that they can customize. And then number 3, they can opt out. And opt out can be done either by filling out the form that comes in the welcome kit. They can also call us, or they can do it online. So we tried to make it as easy as possible for people to engage and make the decision that's right for them. I thought I had a slide about customizing the account. I don't, so let's look at this one for a second and talk really quick about ways that people can customize. They can choose their own contribution rate. The default is 5% of their gross pay and features automatic escalation. So if a person gets automatically enrolled in the standard settings, they start at 5% and it goes up 1% per year, every year until it reaches 8%. But again, they have complete control over that. So they can pause the automatic escalation, or they can choose their own rate, anything between 1% of their pay and actually up to 100% of their pay, as long as they stay below the IRS maximum for an IRA, which is $6,000 per year, $7,000 if they're eligible for a catch-up contribution. And then, of course, they can customize their investment settings. Under the default, the first $1,000 that anybody contributes is going to go into a money market fund, very safe investment option designed to maintain the principal without getting too aggressive. And then subsequent contributions after that first $1,000 will go into a target date fund based on the person's age. And that will automatically adjust to be more conservative over time as the person gets closer and closer to retirement and has less time to take the risk. Really quickly, let's talk about one thing that we're very excited about, and that is the potential impact for the savers. Keep in mind that this is a totally hypothetical scenario, really designed to sort of demonstrate the power of compound interest. But we started with a person 25 years of age, making $30,000 a year, roughly full-time work at the new minimum wage of $15 an hour. And all they do is follow our default settings, right? So they start contributing at 5%, which escalates 1% per year by the time to 8%. And by the time they reach retirement age 65, following those settings for 40 years, and just assuming a fairly conservative rate of return of 5%, they could have potentially saved up to $350,000. And I think what is most exciting about that is that out of that, only about $120,000 is their own contributions. The rest of that is all the interest compounding over time. And we like to think about the impact that would make on, the typical person in this scenario probably wouldn't have had access to a retirement savings vehicle otherwise, and would retire completely reliant on Social Security and other public services. So, very life-changing potential impact for savers here. Really quickly, just some information about our pilot. We're very excited to say that the pilot went very well, and the program's been picking up pace since we launched it on July 1st. As of today, we have 221 registered employers, 2,165 funded accounts with an average monthly contribution of $104.78, and an opt-out rate around 30%, which is pretty industry standard. So we're very excited about that, as expected, 70% of people are, taking advantage of this program when they get exposed to it at work. And those, 2,000 plus savers have already contributed to their IRAs over $662,000 that wouldn't have been saved otherwise. So we're very excited about the impact of the program, both for the employers and the employees. So really quick, just to sum things up, 6 things to remember. CalSavers has no employer fees and no employer fiduciary responsibility. Employers play a very limited role. Facilitating is easy and takes minimal time. Employers are required to register by their state required deadline if they don't offer a program from the existing market. Savers are auto-enrolled into the program if they don't opt out within the first 30 days of the notification going out. But for savers, participation is completely voluntary and very flexible and customizable. And of course, we're very excited about the potential impact that this can have for the state. So small business owners, register today. Cameo members, we could definitely use your help spreading the word about this program. We would really appreciate it if you spoke to your clients about it, at least letting them know that the mandate is in effect, and encouraging folks to, get in ahead of their deadline. We could certainly use your help distributing our information. If there are any regional events in your areas that we could come to promote or educate, speaking opportunities, tabling opportunities, we're always looking forward to any opportunities that we can to share the information about the program to small business owners throughout the state. One last note, accessibility obviously is very important to us. We wanted to make sure that our savers could feel comfortable doing business with us. So the website is up and running, available in 3 languages now, and looking to expand to at least 6 languages very soon. We do have multilingual support over the phone and email, and multilingual on-site support for both employers and employees through our field team. So with that, I will say thank you guys very much for listening. I'll look forward to answering any questions that came through the chat during the question and answer period. But at this point, I will turn it over to Claudia, who will sort of share the small business perspective on what CalSavers means for small business. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan, so much for that presentation. And just before you come on, Claudia, while you set up your PowerPoint, I do already have a few questions via chat. So I am compiling all of them, and we will make sure to cover your questions at the end of Claudia's presentation, at the end of the entire webinar. If you haven't answered the poll, please do that as well. It looks like some of you will be sharing this information with your client and with other colleagues, which is wonderful. It seems like only 2 of you have no prior knowledge of CalSavers, and 5 of you already have some knowledge. So that's really great. It looks like Claudia is now ready to go. So again, any questions you have, please add them to chat, and we will cover them right after this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. So my presentation will be short, but I just want to kind of dive more into how we play a role with small businesses. So my name is Claudia Moreno, and as Aurora mentioned, I do a lot of the outreach efforts in the Inland Empire and Central California. So two very small regions in the state. But just to kind of start off with what we do at Small Business Majority, for those of you who have not heard about our work, we're a national nonprofit, and we do small business education and advocacy nationwide. You can find us here in the state of California, up in Sacramento, in Chicago, in DC, among a few other states. And we tend to focus on various issues that really are relevant to small businesses. And when we talk about small businesses, I really want to highlight here that we really are talking about the moms and pop shops, the ones that have 100 and fewer employees. And the issues that we focus on are access to capital, workforce, healthcare, retirement, just to name a few. And we also do a lot of extensive research, which allows us to better understand the current needs and opportunities for small business owners, and also helps us better do our education platform. So to give a little stats of how small businesses kind of play a huge role here in the state of California, we have about 3.9 million small businesses. And that means that out of all these small businesses, it employs about half of our current state workforce, which as Jonathan mentioned, that's about 7 million workers. And most of the new jobs are created by the smaller businesses that are 1 to 4 employees. And we have about roughly 80% of these small businesses are micro businesses, which means that it's about 10 or fewer employees in a business. So as we can see here, and why our biggest focus are small businesses, is because they're the ones that are generating the jobs and are in their starting phases of their business, and they want to kind of take it to the next level. So we want to make sure that we give them all the reliable resources so that they start strong and kind of build a strong growing business. To switch over to the retirement gap, just, you know, this deck is available for you all after, but what I really want to focus on is that a huge amount of Americans across the country are facing a retirement crisis. And the average household is retiring with about $3,000 into their savings account. So I just want to kind of like let you all like take a few seconds to just let that sink in. You are working so hard throughout all these years, and you know, you're ready to retire after so many years of work, and you only see $3,000 in your savings account. That can, especially in the state of California with the high cost of living, that can only last for so many weeks. So we really want to highlight that it's an issue nationwide, and that's how CalSavers is coming in to kind of alleviate that and make sure that this is not the case when folks are retiring. To kind of dive into the retirement gap in small businesses in California, 66% of the 7.5 million Californians don't have access to an employer-sponsored retirement program. And these are folks who are also working for small businesses who are fewer than 100 employees. In our polling and research that we've done in the past, that doesn't mean that small business owners don't support or wouldn't want to offer this. 2 in 3 small business owners in California have said that they would support a state retirement savings program that would help them and their employees for the future. And it is also an estimate that about 300,000 California small businesses will be able to participate in the implementation of this CalSavers program. Now, why is CalSavers good for small businesses? It's pretty straightforward. It helps attract talented employees and boost employee morale. It helps employers register employees in a retirement program without the overhead and administrative cost. And last but not least, it offers an affordability and convenience for small businesses without an HR department. We also tell, for those of you who are engaging with small business owners, you know, as Jonathan also had in his slides, like where, you know, you can call them through the phone. You can also get information online. But this is kind of like a list of what, you know, we tell small business owners to have ready before calling. So because this is what the generic information that they're going to ask to kind of set up the CalSavers program for them and their employees. Now, to talk more of how our model at Small Business Majority works, and how we kind of let, you know, closely involved with legislation, small business owners are one of the most top trusted messengers when it comes to passing legislation. It is small business owners, veterans, and mothers that are the most trusted messengers when it comes to testifying or giving legislation in state and federal. We also know that there are nation's job creators. They employ more than half of the private sector workforce, as I mentioned earlier. And it's also politically diverse. We have 44% that identify as Republicans. We have about 30% as Democrats and 20% as independents. So we have a pretty diverse spectrum of small businesses when it comes to their political views. Here at Small Business Majority, one of our other models of how we work with small business owners, because as mentioned, a small business owner voice is very instrumental in passing legislation. We work closely with small business owners to become a spokesperson. So I will say that it's not the same for me to go and talk about why, retirement program is important for my small business, as opposed to actually having a small business owner go and testify and give their story of why that's important. So given that the huge difference of why a small business voice is way more important than me talking about this third party person, we like to work with small business owners and kind of get them into a small spokesperson. So what does that mean? It means that we are able to connect you to reporters so that your voice is being heard and told in the news stories. We facilitate meetings with local and national lawmakers on different issues that vary to the small business owner, pertains to the small business owners. And also we have a robust comms team that can help you draft and place op-ed and letters to the editors on small business issues in local newsletters. And last but not least, we have a blog that we are able to highlight your story on our social media platforms and on our website as well. To dive into how we kind of create small business spokesperson and how that ties into the retirement program and here into CalSavers. When we started working on the SB 1235, we sent out an e-blast to all of our small business owners and just wanted to get their insights about this program and what they thought about it. We were also able to connect small business owners who said they were interested in the state-sponsored program to the California Secure Choice Board and later to the CalSavers team. And when the pilot program was launched in November, we were successfully able to enroll half of our small business network into this CalSavers pilot program. To give you a little bit more specifics of how our small business owners actually engage into legislation, in 2016, we had one of our small business owners, Christine Evans, participate in a hearings to talk about the passing of SB 1235 and how that would positively impact the small business owners. The picture on the top right is when she was giving a talk. And at the bottom, she was later featured on CBS to also promote the importance of SB 1235. She has joined policymakers and Small Business Majority at the launch of the CalSavers pilot program that happened in November 2018. One of our other small business owners that I like to highlight is Zachary Davis, who was featured in a video by AARP California promoting the CalSavers program, who is also a small business owner. And in December, his business was also featured in an article in the San Francisco Chronicle as well. Last but not least, the other small business owner that was the first official small business owner to enroll into the CalSavers program is Lorenzo Harris. He has been featured in numerous articles and videos in the media, and also spoke at the launch of the pilot program that happened July 1st of 2019. And the picture on the left is Lorenzo with the former Senator De Leon that happened July 1st. So this is just a recap of how we've been involved with CalSavers from like the early stages of passing it through legislation all the way through the official launch happening July 1st of 2019. So we know, and as you have seen, there's nothing more important and more impactful than having the small business owner voice and hearing and having legislators hear their story and why it makes an impact. And with that, if you want to know more about other opportunities or other ways to engage, if you're a small business owner yourself or you're engaging with small business owners, definitely visit our website at smallbusinessmajority.org to receive monthly newsletters, opportunities, op-eds, upcoming events, webinars that we have with other partners, such as Cameo, this being one of them. And last but not least, if you have specific questions, also definitely feel free to reach out to me at cmoreno@smallbusinessmajority.org. And that wraps up my end.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia, so much. And thanks again to Jonathan. I have collected so far 3 questions from our attendees, so I'm going to send them again via the chat so we can see them. The first one is, when can under 5 employees or gig workers enroll in CalSavers? And that was during Jonathan's presentation. If you or Claudia want to respond.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So enrollment for individual participants will begin later this fall. We don't have an exact date picked out yet, but definitely this fall.
Awesome, thank you. And so folks can sign on to the newsletter from your organization and get information on when that will be, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
The other 2 are more related to the language and access of the information. The presentation that you gave today, Jonathan, is that also available in Spanish?
Yes. Not only is the deck available in Spanish, but I've got several members of my team that could actually go out and do presentations in Spanish or join webinars in Spanish too.
Awesome. So we will send out the presentation, and which has both of your contact info, so folks can contact you directly to get that information and book those presentations. And you mentioned other languages, being in other languages. What are those other languages?
Add something there, Aurora?
Oh, of course.
Presentations.
Yes.
So yes, they are in Spanish, and also like if you are interested in bringing the CalSavers team to do this presentation as well to some of your partners, please also feel free. Don't feel limited that you have to wait until a webinar, until like an event is coming nearby. I know that the CalSavers team is very open to collaborating if you want to bring this to your partners or to small business owners as well.
Absolutely. Claudia, thank you for driving home that point. Yes, we have presentation will travel, so let us know.
Very cool. Okay, any other questions that our attendees have? You can type them in.
Question number 3, let's get to that one really quick, because I think that was more about the program and not so much about just the presentations. But so right now the static pages on our website are in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and simplified Chinese. The entire website is in English and Spanish. In addition to that, our mobile app is English and Spanish, and our call center has native speakers, English and Spanish, and access to a translation service, so we can deal with folks over the phone in whatever language they feel comfortable. And then our marketing materials right now, we have available in English and Spanish, and actually we have them in translation right now to expand to Korean, Tagalog, and Japanese, I want to say, and Chinese. And then we are looking to expand that to at least the between 6 and 8 most common spoken languages in the state. Because again, accessibility is going to be super important, helping people to understand what this program's about.
Great, thank you so much. That's amazing to see already how many languages are listed. Any other questions, or if Jonathan or Claudia have any final thoughts before we close out today?
Only to say thank you so much for joining us and allowing us to, share our program with you. We're very excited about it, and we hope that, hearing about it generates some excitement among you folks. And as Claudia mentioned, we are very interested in partnering with you guys to help spread the word among your clients and other small business owners in your local regions. So please let us know if there's anything we can do to help, or any materials we can provide to help support that effort. Let us know how we can get involved. And thank you for your time, and thank you to our host for inviting us to speak with you today.
Of course. It's definitely our pleasure to have you on, both of you, to be a part of this. And just as a reminder, both of the presentations that were given today by Jonathan and Claudia will be emailed to you shortly. So you will have that information and be able to contact them directly. And this webinar series is part of a monthly capacity building webinar series that Cameo puts on the 3rd Thursday of the month. So if you don't already get our emails or want to see an archive of past webinars that we've had over the years, you can go to our website, cameonetwork.org. Thank you all again. Thanks to panelists and attendees, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.